Both Trump and Biden should take cognitive fitness tests to see which one is actually mentally fit for the presidency.
Yeah, I think Biden definitely needs to take it, and I think Trump wants to take it. So I would approve of that.
Right there.
You know,
It would be nice to see where both people are at mentally.
both of them have flaws in a way. Some are policy flaws, others are cognitive. Like for example, when Trump claimed that he was a stable, able genius just years ago. That just proves how ignorant he was of the basic facts.
But yeah, I would approve of both of them taking a test.
You know, the Trump-Russia ties have been detailed in the Senate report and in the Mueller report.
You know, I really don't know what the ties are between Trump and Russia. I personally don't see any serious ties that would jeopardize the elections or anything like that. If anything, Trump's been cracking down on everybody, and we've kind of ticked Russia off.
Putin has operations to help get Trump reelected and going on social media.
I do know that social media has on both sides, Republican and Democrat, they both have operations that are posting and trying to get people to show their support.
And they both have misinformation.
Yep, and that's the problem. There's a lot of misinformation, and eventually it just turns into a smear campaign where you're just talking dirty about each other instead of trying to come up with solutions.
Well, one potential solution would be to introduce new safeguards on the election and to stop things like for example, hacking into voting machines or things like Louis DeJoy sabotaging the election by stopping mail-in ballots.
There's a lot that has to be ironed out with the whole mail-in ballots and the absentee ballots and people voting twice. We gotta eliminate that and make sure there's only one vote counted per U.S. citizen.
So, one thing that we could deal with also is systemic racism. Like
that we have to deal with.
Like one particular way to deal with it would be to train cops to not discriminate based on race.
Yeah, that is correct, but there's always a bad apple in the bunch, and honestly, racism will never ever be totally abolished. There's just some people that are dead set in their ways and for whatever reason are racist, but we're all here together. We're all human on this earth. There shouldn't be a division because of your color.
Well, new legislations could be introduced to help black people out and help them gain equality to white people.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely assistance programs. There's a lot of programs out there, but unfortunately, the truth of the matter is, a lot of the poor black families are just crammed in all these tight housing spaces, and it ends up being just full of drugs and crime, and kids don't have their dads because they're locked up from doing all kinds of crazy crimes, and eventually those kids don't really focus on school and they just turn into thugs, and there's not a lot of guidance, and they feel trapped because they see all of these black people around these tight complexes. I'm telling you, like, hundreds of apartments just stacked on each other, and it's not a good living environment.
Many of these black people are put in a position where they don't have the money to fight their cases at trial, so they have to plead guilty to crimes that they may not have committed.
Yeah, I mean, they are appointed a public defender and stuff like that, but yeah, you're right. I'm sure there is some innocent people out there that have been convicted of crimes, just, cops planting evidence, or, starting a fight with somebody and then saying you assaulted an officer and then you get charged. That's why body cams must be on at all times.
Well, another solution would be to have security cameras everywhere recording their actions.
Yeah, there's, they have been installing a lot of new security cameras on corners and near high crime areas, which you can monitor so much, and if a crime happens, you can rewind the tape and hopefully that camera is working and you can pull up the film of the crime, but it also goes into infringement
of privacy.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, let's get on to dealing with the financial whole side of things, and of course Biden had a tax cut for many common people that I heard about last week.
Yeah, well, Trump actually, I think it was within the first year or two of him being in office, he gave us all a tax cut. And that definitely added some cash to all of our pockets. And another thing that we need to do is focus on another round of stimulus, because people, Congress, they have been dragging their feet, mainly the Democrats, are dragging their feet on this second stimulus bill. And I'll tell you, it's kind of politically motivated because they don't want to see our economy explode and do what Trump said it was going to do. They want to draw it out, make it, look really bad and make it crash, and it's just harming a lot of people. They know if they sent out another check to everybody that they would go out and spend, and the markets would start to go back up.
Well, one thing that he could do is implement my plan where the richer tax $1 million extra, and of course that money goes to a vaccine testing program that employs people.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of wealthy individuals that are already being taxed high just because of their, income is so high. But I don't know how much, I agree they need to pay their share, but you can't really rob the rich to help the poor.
Under me, the 1% of the 1% would ultimately get $1 million tax increase, but they'd be able to afford it anyway.
Yeah, that's a lot. $1 million is a lot.
He pushed me.
Okay, we're doing it.
Not to billionaires who have all that kind of money.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, but what if they don't have that money and they say they have to lay off a few people just to have that money? then people are going to be losing their jobs because they're not willing to fork over the tax money.
One thing is people would get jobs in the program.
That's true.
So do you think that the government employment program's a good idea?
Yes. There's I was raised pretty poor. My parents were on welfare and had all the assistance and all of that, and that really helped us a lot. We didn't have much, but we had enough to survive.
Well, did you ever consider anything when you were making money for yourself about how the rich would be ultimately paying their fair share under my administration if I'm elected?
Yeah, absolutely. I support you, and you have really good insight. I think you're going to have a lot of followers.
If elected, I'll probably do a better job than what I've seen of Trump doing.
Yeah, that's it's a lot of work, and it's very stressful. You're waking up every morning, you're going here, you're going there, you're going here, you're going there. This person wants to talk to you, this person wants to smear you. It's a lot, and being a president, that'll age you quick. I hope you're ready for it.
I hope I'm ready also. Now let's move on to one of the next topics about how potentially, one thing that we could potentially do to address systemic inequality for black people is that he could also make sure that they get an extra stimulus to have them on even financial grounds with white people.
Well, I will say, I think regardless of the race, we all need an extra stimulus check. All of this coronavirus has really, it made us go out and stock up on this, stock up on that, and use all kinds of money on stuff that normally we wouldn't purchase. And it has really affected the pockets of just about everyone, business owners, employees.
It's affected everyone. Now, my virtual style of governing from afar. My virtual style of governing. What do you think of that?
I think it might be tough to schedule all of your appointments and have everybody going through videos, and you're going to have a lot of paperwork to sign and stuff, but once you get all those things ironed out with trial and error, I think you could become successful.
So my ways of governing the nation and will ultimately be successful after trial and error.
That's correct. I would think so.
And
you're a pioneer. You're creating a whole new thing.
I hope that I'm ready to address the nation's problems.
What do you think about weather change, climate change?
Well, climate change is ultimately a problem that needs to be solved. To improve our environment.
And one of your policies was to get rid of fossil fuels.
Yes.
what other policies or topics did you want to cover today?
Well, we could also cover alternative energies like wind, solar, geothermal, hydroelectric, and how they would be used in that particular policy.
Yeah, you're right. I think all of those need to be implemented a little bit more. We should do some sort of program for everyone. You know, if you sign up for solar panels, you know, you get either a tax credit, a write-off, or something. You know, an environmental credit, some sort of credit.
That gives me an idea. We could also do a government program that ultimately he provides for. We could also do a government program that hires oil workers to install all solar panels on everyone's houses, and then trains them to do the job.
That would help a lot if you're getting rid of all of those jobs that rely on fossil fuels. I like that idea.
So what other policies do you want to talk about?
How do you feel about immigration? Do you feel we need the wall?
We don't necessarily need the wall, but we do need better immigration regulations.
That's correct, because the majority of the immigrants that come through illegally are usually criminals that don't want to be caught trying to get over here legally, or know that they will be denied. I think the wall is a good thing that really funnels people towards a few sections. Can't have a country without a wall. You need a wall, especially when it was so many people. It was like a leaky faucet, and they're just pouring in, taking all of our jobs and doing them for cheaper. It's bad for our economy.
Well, COVID-19 is preventing that.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can get a grasp on this COVID-19, and hopefully they're successful with coming out with the vaccine in November.
So did you like the idea that I had in my tax plan, the government employment program, to test these vaccines?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I really feel like, this Operation Warp Speed, yeah, it's great in the long run. We need to seriously come up with some sort of vaccine to make everybody feel safe. But we can't just pump out a bunch of drugs and say, here, take this, because, yeah, there's going to be negative side effects, and not everybody will react the same. Some people will probably die from taking something. Some people, it might work for them.
I need to tell you something. Frankie always gives me that little thing that goes to the bulldozer, and I want to show you the bulldozer.
So what do you think of the topic of Trump inciting violence so that he has higher re-election chances?
Well, I will say this. A lot of Democratic states are the ones that have been having the issues with the riots and all of the spikes in crime, all of the shootings, the massive increase in shootings, which is also to blame. COVID is also to blame for that, because a lot of people are just stressed out and they're just, there's nothing to do, so there's a lot of crime going on.
Trump has done tweeting about right-wing violence and violence that supported it.
Well, how do you feel about civilian militias?
Well, I believe that civilian militias sometimes be beneficial and sometimes not if used for the right purposes. Like during the American Revolution, when a militia was used to liberate our country.
Yep. Well, we're starting to see that now. A lot of civilians are just getting fed up with it, and it seems like a lot of governments aren't doing anything about it. And the ones that are, they're usually too late. The place is burned down already by the time they get there. So I feel like a lot of U.S. citizens, Americans, we're just fed up and we're grabbing our guns and we're grabbing our ammo and we're hitting the streets to do what other people won't. But you're right, it could be bad because it kind of incites violence. People see you as a threat and then they want to push your buttons until eventually you have to use that firearm.
That also leads into the next topic of Trump's secret police and how he could potentially use that to control the vote by intimidating voters.
Well, I'll be honest, we have had a crazy 2020, and it has been all arranged around fear and intimidation. We just need a no BS election with everybody going out to the polls and voting.
So the way I've come up with is based on what I've seen that Donald Trump might do is one, he might put his secret police outside of the polls to intimidate the voters, thus forcing them to vote for him. Or in an alternative scenario, he would just put his secret police outside of the houses of voters and get them to vote for him that way.
Well, there's a lot of robocalls. There's a lot of people trying to get you to join a side. It's division. As far as police at voting polls, I think that police would be helpful because there's going to be people on both sides. There's going to be people showing up voting for Trump, and there's going to be Biden supporters out there. And who knows? They could clash in the voting lines, and that's not what we want.
And of course, there will be people. Will hopefully be people voting for me. He also.
That's right. But all right, I think we're done with this debate until the third debate.
Okay.